this is Henri. We made a trip to Halifax in the first 2 weeks of July of 2019 to visit family and to explore the area. We haven't been down there in 6 years, so we were very keen to do the trip again. A big trip like that's always a great adventure. And so I was quite excited about doing the trip. And this is just a brief overview video before we get into the video of the trip itself, but just to give you an overview of how we approached it and what we ran into. First, as you'll see, we had problems with the electrical system on the RV that I ultimately was able to fix, but took some time. And that slowed us down by 1 day. We had already been 1 day later just getting ready for the trip, and I didn't want to give up a second day, so I decided to go 1,100 kilometers in 1 day and drive from Keswick here, just south of Lake Simcoe in Ontario, all the way to Edmonton, New Brunswick. It's a long day, folks, I'll tell you that. And then the next day we drive from Edmonton to Porter's Lake Provincial Park, just north of Halifax. So we decided to take, because we left in good time, we decided to go through the city, take our chances with that. It was July the 1st, it's holiday here in Canada for our country's birthday. And so we figured the traffic at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever wasn't going to be too outrageous, and so we steamed on. And the main challenge you have with all these things is the stopping. You stop for this, that, and the other thing, and that really does make it, takes the day, slows you right down. So we decided to stop just outside the last place, the last en route in Ontario, I think is Morrisburg going east, with the idea being that these en routes are really, really helpful to us in getting the big rig in for gas compared to Quebec, where it just isn't quite the same in sort of like the United States too that way. So it's better a bird in the hand. And the RV has pretty long legs, so if she's full right to the doors, I can get 800 or 900 kilometers. And so I figured, well, okay, if I can do that, I'm going to be able to go right on through. So I thought after Morrisburg that we just keep steaming. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't stop for about 700 kilometers for anything. And we did very well. It was beautiful driving conditions. The only thing I would say, as you'll see in the videos, is the roads in Quebec are quite rough. That includes Autoroute 20. That includes Autoroute 55 coming south of Rivière-du-Loup, and Quebec Route 185, which is a short section between those two. I don't understand the thinking of governments that roads that are this important are in rough enough condition. Remember that all of our goods come in trucks, and the trucks are sprung pretty stiff, and so that's all your stuff is getting shooken and banged around in those vehicles. That's why truckers have an air ride seat, because the suspensions are so rough in the trucks. So I don't know. I understand everything costs money, but I don't see us doing the Quebec run again for fear of damaging the RV. So if I do this, when we do this again, and I'm actually kind of keen to try it, is we'll go along 401, we'll cross at Gananoque, we'll take I-81 down through New York State to Schenectady or something like that. There's a campground there, and then the next day we'll drive to Bangor, Maine, and another campground, and now you take the Mass Turnpike, and then you start on I-95, and then from Bangor we'll go to Porter's Lake. Now after Bangor you take Route 9 for a little while. I've looked on Google Maps, it doesn't look too bad, and then you pick up the Trans-Canada, and the Trans-Canada Highway in New Brunswick is excellent. Now that's not to say there isn't a little bump here or there, but nothing like what I was talking about. The second thing is that as you may, if you're watching my channel, you'll notice that I decided to condemn the generator in the RV for all the problems it had, and so I bought a 3,300 watt Furman generator, and I built a box and put it on a pan at the back of the Jeep as I tow it down the road. Now this works great. On the way back, we had warmer conditions on the way back, and we needed a bit of air conditioning and so forth in the rig. And boy, I tell you, it was really nice. So I think it was a winner just for that all in its own right. But even though it's rated at 58 dB and it's supposedly quiet, and I had my snowblower, my lawnmower, and my small generator running in the driveway, and this one is quieter. When you're in a Walmart parking lot or something like that, it's simply too noisy and it bothers people, and I don't want to be a person who does that. At the same time, if you come in off the highway after a number of kilometers, the vehicle's hot. The exhaust system and whatever underneath is heating it up pretty good. It can be a warm day or humid day, and if you're going to drive, you need to get your sleep. At least I do. So I think going forward, we'll stay in campgrounds where we can plug in and get to shore power and run the air conditioning as we need to do so that way. So that we, so I don't think the Walmart thing, at least in the warm summertime, is really the answer for us. If we were traveling sometime and it's, you know, on the shoulders or something like that, maybe we could argue we could do that. The other thing we probably could do, if it was a trip when it was cooler and you had to use the furnace or the heater, but of course those are also pretty quiet, and that seems to work pretty well too. However, if we go through the States, it's about 200 kilometers further, which is a long way. Well, maybe not. Maybe 150, whatever. It's still, you know, another hour, let's say, anyway, maybe more. But the gas is so much cheaper for us in the United States that, in fact, it's actually saves money. So we're looking at better roads and the campground situation, which of course would be existing in Canada and arguably a little bit cheaper there maybe, but certainly takes the pressure off. I will tell you, the stress of driving on rough roads and knowing full well that you're potentially damaging your vehicle, but you still have to get there, it wears you out. And it's too bad that, you know, that's the way it is. And I understand that the roads are not going to be built for RVers, and you know, we have to take what comes, but that's certainly what I would be doing right now. And the problems exist almost the entire province. It's not just a 40 kilometer section, because I wouldn't even be talking about it then. So anyhow, Ontario, if I was to grade the roads report card, Ontario would be a B minus. New Brunswick would be an A minus. Nova Scotia would be like a B plus, and Quebec would be a D. And so those are, you know, just kind of how it played out. And we got there. Porter's Lake Provincial Park, north of Halifax, is a beautiful campsite. It really, really is. There's only 10 sites there that have power. So apparently you have to really get to that to get those when you want them. But it's a beautiful site and a nice area there. Yet you have a really good run into Dartmouth from there, so it's not an inconvenience. The Porter's Lake has, of course, sections to it. I canoed all the way up to the top almost, didn't quite make it the one day. And back down later, we had a boat cruise. Some family member took us up to the top end. It was a beautiful day. There's a bicycle trail that leads not far from there all the way down to the coast. You can ride it all the way to Dartmouth. There's a lot to do there, and I'd certainly look forward to going back again. It was a really, really nice place to go. The trip back, we did the same way, but we had a bit of rain and so forth, and that type of thing, and that of course makes it a bit of a challenge. And like I said, I'm just figuring out how this all works as well. So anyhow, it was an interesting trip. I was quite pleased with the campgrounds in Porter's Lake. You're only paying $36.50 a night, which is really good. You have power and water. You just don't have the dump stations at the front. I carried the blue external gray tank, because that's usually our problem, is the gray water gets filled up much quicker. We only have 30 gallons. of gray water plus another 18 gallons of gray water, and the 30-gallon tank is cracked, so there's a problem somewhere near the top. I wish I could find that. So what I did was I have a 120-liter auxiliary tank, which I fill with gray water, and when it gets full, I just put the loop of it over the hitch ball on the Jeep and tow it up to the dump station and let it go. And that worked great. And the tank is not that heavy, maybe, I don't know if it'd even be 20 pounds when it's empty, so you can easily pick it up and put it in the Jeep. There was no problem at all. And that's how we carried it when we were driving back and forth. But to have it at the site, if you're using a lot of gray water, it's just worth it. And in many cases, honestly, you know, the gray water that came out of there was just practically water. I mean, it was just a small amount of soap, and it'd be no different, I think, than someone washing their car in the driveway. And to be honest with you, I don't see, for what we would be doing, how much different it would make to dump that in the storm drain. If it's okay for people to wash their cars on their driveway and hose the driveway off and the road salt and stuff, everything into the storm sewer, I don't see why this would be any different, because it isn't. So, but I'm still, we're not doing that, but I'm just saying I just don't see how that, the chemistry of that water is different. I'm sure someone can explain it to me. So this is the preamble of what was actually a pretty good trip. And what I hope to do over the next little while is to get the videos. I had some other things going on this summer, and I didn't get things done as quickly as I'd hoped. But I'm hoping to get the videos up also from the Halifax trip, so that we can see, you guys can see what we were up to and all the rest. Regrettably, I have a drive cam which works really well. Unfortunately, I forgot the memory card on the way out with all the hubbub with the electronical problems. So I got a card down there, and so that was in the thing on the way back. So we'll get some drive cam of the roads as we came home. I basically turned it on at different places where I thought that the terrain was interesting, instead of having 1,800 kilometers of, you know, so we'll see. Anyhow, thank you again for watching, and stay tuned for more videos on the Halifax trip. Well, good morning. So this is day 1, I guess, or day 2 of our great big Halifax trip for 2019. I'm in our RV here at Walmart. Let's see if we can clean the lens there a bit. That's a bit better. Here in town in Keswick, and let's just see if we can figure this out. So anyhow, just yeah. So this is day. I guess yesterday was day 0. Who knows? This is certainly day 1 of our 2019 Halifax trip. We hope to be 2.5 days to get down there, and so I'm just here in the RV. I brought it over yesterday to Walmart and connected the towing system and all the rest of it, so that we just have to put a few more clothes and some food in it this morning, and we're on our way. So today we should be going to Kingston, about 4 or 5 hours, depending on how things go, and then 2 big days of driving after that. So this is an installment here, as I'll show you some of the other things we're doing as we get going along here, and I'll show you what we got outside as well. So stay tuned. Hopefully you enjoy the trip. So it's a beautiful morning out here, and the parkland beside it. It's just very nice. We're very fortunate today to have a beautiful morning with not too humid. In Ontario, this June of 2019 has been as nice as I can remember. And so we have just a matter of getting set up here. I'm just going to give you a brief tour of how we've hooked everything up. And you can see here the background now. Got a neighbor behind us here in the sunshine, and they're having breakfast, I guess. So let's look at our towing systems. So you can see here in the distance, this is the Seabreeze RV there in the brilliant sunshine. 35 feet, Gas A, Class A rather, gas RV. And then after that I come in and I have a double hitch here, which gives me space for my bicycle, and I have that covered with a USA road bag, which has been pretty good. Far more durable than anything else I've used. The zippers let me down a little bit on it, but other than that it's been pretty good. And then of course the Jeep Liberty that'll get us around when we're there, and then my canoe, and we have an auxiliary gray water tank inside the Jeep that we'll use at the campsite. The fact of this device on the back is the generator. The generator in the RV was condemned. It failed, too many problems. It was a Generac Q55, it's too old, couldn't get repairs, constantly failed on me. So I bought a kipper. No, I didn't buy a kipper. I bought a Furman W3300 last year, and then the white thing is just simply a plywood box. So we can see how this looks here, and I've connected the lights of the Jeep to this box as well to add for visibility purposes, and there's the generator inside. So we use that. So the point of doing this was to be able to have air conditioning while we're driving, because the problem is that with the main generator gone, all you have is dash air, and dash air is not going to do it. The RV warms up too much, and this becomes a bit of a problem. So we've got most of the stuff loaded now. It's just a matter of getting some clothes and some food on board, and then we're on our horse. And I'm really looking forward to this trip. I've been looking forward to it for a while now. And this unit is a National RV 2000 Seabreeze 1340, and we really like it. The only thing I take away from this RV is it's getting older, and this of course gives you some challenges when it comes to keeping it running and having repairs and all the rest that we seemingly have to manage at different times. And it's not just the RV so much, it is the appliances and so on. So anyhow, we're on our way. Hopefully we'll enjoy this trip. Thank you. Alright, so here's the situation behind the circuit board. To the right, this one here is the main breaker. That seems to be working. This one here is the coach interconnect breaker, which allows for things to happen when you, of charging to occur when you start the engine or run the electricity. So right now it's not going. We don't know why, whether it's fuses or what, but we're not getting any joy there, so we have to figure out why. So I just took a video here so I know how to put this back together. Update on this job I'm doing here. So if you back it out, this circuit board goes like this and sits in front of these these solenoids, the battery disconnect, which is this guy, and the interconnect here, which allows the generator slash engine to charge the battery. So this was not getting energized across here because of a blown fuse on the panel, yet the fuse, I don't know if I still have that puppy around here, looks perfectly normal. There it is there. You can see that very nice S pattern inside there, but it has a conductivity, or rather resistance, of almost a mega ohm, so that's why the coil wasn't seeing anything, and it was probably degrading. So that's why it partly worked last night. So we checked the solenoid on the battery, it snapped over right away, so it's not the problem. So what I'm doing here now is putting it back together, and then I lengthened these cables here that come from the circuit board to run the coil are really short and makes it a real bear to work on this. So I lengthened those as I did on the main breaker. Where'd that fella go now? Oh yeah, this guy here. So I lengthened these cables during another episode when we were dealing with the
bad disconnect switch. So that makes things a little easier to get in here if we have to for some reason again. And of course the other thing when you do this, however frustrating it is you can you learn about your RV. And as one of my buddies said once, you learn too much about your RV, but that's the beast. So that's what we're working on, and we're about maybe a third of the way putting it back together here. And now we have to put the circuit board back against to try to get all these bolts to marry up, and it's in pretty tight quarters. And then ultimately the connectors and whatever else I've taken off. So anyhow, that's just an update to show you how this works. So better RVs, of course, you'll see an open panel and everything's laid out for you, so you can inspect things very easily without having to rip half of it apart just to get to something that may or may not be broken to start with. So a lot of times things don't always start the way you want them to. About 12 noon yesterday, I came back from the store and I was looking at my electrical system, and I realized that the batteries were not charging, whether I started the engine or I ran the generator, and we were getting no help at all. So both systems were not working. So I started around 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and I spent my day stuck in the electrical compartment. And basically what I did, unfortunately in this RV, as I show you on another video, is the major solenoids are in behind the circuit board. So you got to take apart everything. At the same time, the wires that they use to connect from the circuit board to the solenoids are quite short, so you really have very little room to work, and so that's a bit of a job. But I've been in there before, so I worked my way back, and of course the interconnect solenoid is the furthest one from the door. So I finally got to it and took it out, and then I found the fuse connecting to it had a resistance of almost a mega ohm. So I thought, there's my problem. But I thought we better be sure. So I connect the solenoid directly to the battery, and the switch snapped right away. So it was working fine. So I slowly put this thing back. I increased the length of the leads, do all that kind of stuff, put a new fuse in, and nothing. So then I decided to do what I've been doing, and that is run wires myself. That there's something in this circuit board that's starting to go to sleep. And so I ran wires from the relay through the solenoid, and I directly connected them to the engine, wiring the hot wire from the engine. And so when you start the engine, this will cause the solenoid to engage, and then the alternator's charging current will then, you see the batteries will see that, and we'll get a charge. And I set that up, and that worked great. So then the second question came is, what's wrong with my converter, with my system when I either have the generator or on shore power, that I'm not getting any charge? So I did that, couldn't figure it out. I take the plug off the wall, which is plugged into, there's a wire off. I thought, that's it. Fix that, and it was pretty tough work in there to do that, and that still didn't change anything. So then I finally got the bright idea of simply unplugging the inverter and plugging it into a plug halfway down the RV, and it worked perfectly right off the bat. Now obviously you can't go down the road like this, but that doesn't matter, because the idea basically is going to be for me to use this in the campground. So when we're in the campground doing our thing, then I thought I can plug this thing in that way. That will leave myself, I still have my AC system, that seems to be working so far, but I'll have my charging system working now when I'm sitting still somewhere. So what looked kind of dark for a while sort of came out. Now, this is one of those amazing things, like you take, the failure scenarios are very difficult to typically, because you look at it and you check everything and everything looks okay, and then it doesn't work. Or the lines are dead and the wires disappear into the guts of the RV and you'll never find them. So anyhow, the actual work it took for the true fix, wouldn't take you half an hour. Well, maybe an hour to get into that disconnect solenoid, but really you know, it's the frustrating thing is you spend hours trying to figure what's wrong with it, or if you don't know what's wrong with it, what you can do to fake it out. So anyhow, it's now July the 1st. We were supposed to leave on the 29th, and technically today we would arrive at Porter's Lake. Well, so we're a day behind. That's not going to change. But right now we're kind of on day 3 here. So if Nadine's still finishing up, and if she gets over here and it's not too late, the tentative goal, and I mean they're very tentative, of course, is to head for Evanston, New Brunswick today. Now, whether I can last that long and how long we're able to keep the RV going and not having to stop for one reason or another will make quite a difference. But if we don't make that, we maybe make Rivière-du-Loup. We'll just have to see how this works and how everything runs. So wish us luck. So it's been a bit of an adventure to start off this year with the RV. We had the problems with the step and the phony problems with the transmission, and then now this whole electrical problem. So it's been a lot of nonsense. But I will say to my viewers, although I'm no RV tech, I am a physics teacher. I know a little bit about electricity, and right now I feel like I understand the electrical system of this thing better than probably the mechanics do. Remember that all these RVs are made by hand, and they're all a little bit different. And this RV, the company went out of business in 2008 and 9. So except for the documentation I have with me, there's nothing. So you know, if you're going to have an older RV, you know, being a handyman will save you a bunch of money and a lot of shop time, because something like this is tricky to figure out what to do. So you know, it's kind of pleased that we've been able to get it going the way we did, and with hopefully within an hour we're maybe starting to head out. So with that, we'll update you when we know some more. So here's the vehicle all ready to go, a 35-foot RV plus the Jeep. We're around 53, 54 feet long. The Jeep tracks very nicely behind the RV, so the main issue when you're driving is simply to manage the RV itself. And so we were all keen to make this trip. You'll see that behind the RV I have got a double hitch, which allows the bicycles to be mounted above the trailer, the hitch for the Jeep itself, and that makes them a lot safer than hanging them off the back of the inverter pan. See the black cable there that connects the generator to the RV, allowing us to have full electricity while we're driving down the road. Edmonton, New Brunswick, we just got here, and there are probably 25 RVs in the parking lot, including ours. Most of them were here first. Everybody's parked all over, finding a level spot somewhere. And there's our unit right there. So we just got in. Boy, the roads are rough in Quebec, I'll tell you. Holy Christmas. I don't know. Trans-Canada Highway, and you can almost break an axle on some of that stuff. I just don't understand that. To me, that road should be gold. The whole country depends on it, but they don't ask me. Anyhow, welcome to Edmonton. We're doing our sleepover here, and then we're going to be on our way to Porter's Lake tomorrow, in theory. Hopefully the RV survived. It looks like it's not in too bad a shape from what I can see right now. So hello, Henri here. Oops, there's the lights. So we're at the Walmart in Edmonton, New Brunswick, and this is what I look like after driving 1,100 kilometers. So there's our RV in behind here, and then behind me you see really dozens of them. It's amazing what's here. Pretty cool. And it's nice and reasonably quiet. There's a few cars around, but it's been not a bad day given all the troubles I had yesterday. So pretty happy with it. We'll see how it goes tomorrow, and all the rest. But this is one thing I want to show you is my windshield. That's the windshield after all the bugs that we picked up on our run here. You can barely see through it, but that's how it goes. So we're pretty glad to be here. We had the problems with the charging systems yesterday, and we were able to figure that out, get going today about 9 o'clock this morning, and here we are at, well, the total travel time of about 12 hours and 20 minutes, but with the hour change, it's about 10:30 right now. It's nice clean air here, and it has a bit of a smell like a fir from the forest, so it's just kind of nice. And everybody's pretty quiet here, so it's nice. So I'm looking forward to having a good sleep here. If I can dial down all the intention from driving so much, and then we'll pick it up tomorrow. So after a couple of aborted days, we've had a pretty good start. So we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.